So item 4D would be West Business Development Center. Mary Ann, do you want to say a few words about other things going on or expand on what was discussed earlier?
Sure, just a little bit, because we talked mostly about the campaign, but everyone should always remember that we at West also roll out a number of workshops, and over the last 18 months, especially on digital literacy, and that's going to continue through 2022. We do at least 3 or 4 every year, every month rather, and that are specifically designed for to improve the technology and digital literacy of our residents and especially of our businesses. And those workshops are always for free. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about some of these things. I think that it's been very interesting to hear, and like Jeff, I've been on those calls listening about the funds coming in. How we can and what kind of advocacy we can do around that is certainly something that we all should pull together to try to reinforce. I think Supervisor Williams brings up a good point about not enough funding, and the funding that we have, how do we use it in the most effective and efficient way as possible, because of the variety of grants, not just the broadband grants, but there is a variety of federal and state grants coming out. I think it would be important for us to all keep an ear out for other things that are going to supplement that work of broadband. That's why I brought up the workforce. We're focused on getting the broadband in, but how and who will be deploying that? Do we have the people, the staff, the knowledge, the expertise? And let's make sure that we're paying attention to some of those other things, because there are potentially other grants that we collectively as counties with Sonoma and Mendocino could be applying for. So that's about it. But I'm happy to answer any questions about.
Does anyone have questions for Mary Ann? So next on the agenda would be Access Sonoma Broadband, and Mike Nichols or Calvin Sandine might wish to speak to this. Thanks.
It looks like Calvin has dropped off again.
I'm here, but
go ahead,
I don't know for how long. By the way, my internet provider is Starlink, so for all of those of you that are on the waiting list, this is what you're gonna get. So Mike, as far as the Access Sonoma Broadband, what I was going to cover there is we're working on similar projects that will fit into the region to the consortium update. Is that that kind of broadband business plan component, and so that's probably our biggest project. The other initiative that I'm been working on is workforce training, and I've been trying to connect with as many organizations to get an understanding of what we need to do to make it possible. And so far I've reached out to Fiber Optics Association, which creates the curriculum for telecom training pretty much across the world, and been working with Jim and Karen Hayes, who are the founders of FOA, but they also work with contractors on pretty much developing all of the training material in order to get workers qualified. I've also been in discussion with the State Workforce Investment Board, and to understand what's going on, and just going on at the state level, if there's been any analysis being conducted on the current demand, current supply of labor, and what that means. One note that sticks in my mind is that it's not that there aren't people available to do the work. It's not that we don't have the training curriculum and programs available to get it done. It's also a big piece of it is ensuring that the people that are going into this industry and we're training, that there are jobs at the end of it that are well paying, that they are, you know, a good working environment, so that there's an incentive for laborers to come into the industry and want to get training and begin work. So that's a big component to ensure that where they're heading and that there's a job available at the end of the training. But I do speculate that that there will be a shortage of labor. There's already a shortage of supplies with the supply chain issues of material. So we have to, I think there are major opportunities to coordinate local junior colleges on supporting training. There's also our Office of Education and other organizations to Public Works are even a good partner because they have equipment available and work sites that could help with training. So as far as supporting entities, they are there, but again, it's just organizing and piecing them together. So that's the other big piece we've been working on with ASB. But Mike, if you want to add in.
I think you accurately covered everything that you've been working on, Calvin. I can't think of anything that you overlooked.
And the speed test. We've been doing the speed test. We're trying to market it more. Mendocino County is beating us right now, so congratulations. Yeah. Well, but we just need to figure out how to market better. So we're learning from you at the same time. So thank you very much.
You need the West
Thank
Business
you.
Development Center.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the last item of, sorry, somebody was speaking, go right ahead. Mendocino County Farm Bureau's Executive Director, Devin Jones, has a conflicting meeting during the first 3 quarters of Broadband Alliance meetings, but she indicated that she would try to join at 11:30. Regrettably, I don't see her on the line unless I'm mistaken. And so with that, the next item 5 would have been Jim Woods, Assemblymember Woods' report. Item 6 would be discussion of recent legislation, and I imagine there's a new crop of bills that is coming forward. So the only 3 that I left to discuss, and they were touched on earlier, were SB 4, AB 14, and AB 41. The SB 4 and AB 14 were the continuation of CASIF grant funding that would have sunsetted at the beginning of this year. AB 41 also passed, and it is Assemblymember Jim Woods' bill for a dig once policy. And it was a cleanup bill to a pre-existing dig once policy, and it's designed to encourage Caltrans to, so it's state-related dig once policy, encourage Caltrans to streamline the process of including conduit in all major road builds. If anyone wants, we could expand on legislation if you want. We're about 15 minutes from the conclusion of the meeting. We do have some business to attend to in item 7, which is consideration of the 2022 meeting dates. We have been doing quarterly meetings with the first Friday of each 3rd month, and the dates are shown on the screen as Friday, March 4th, June 3rd, September 2nd, and December 2nd. And so the steering committee members particularly, but all attendees should take some time to consider whether this is the appropriate dates and approach for our calendar for 2022. to add to that, the steering committee typically meets 15 days in advance of these meetings on a Thursday. And now is a good opportunity for all those participating in those meetings to give input as to whether those work. Or move and adopt.
Well, why don't we assume people, if we're not hearing objections, let's assume the dates that Jeff is proposing are all right with everyone. It's also calendared out enough so that most people will be able to attend or plan to attend. Steering committee, does anybody have any problems with the 15 days before those meetings?
No.
Okay. Everybody's fine? Okay. Jeff, at this point, do we normally have a motion for approval of that, or do we just do it by consensus?
I think we do it by consensus. I mean,
Okay.
I seldom hear motions and voting. There are almost never action items, but we have a new chair, and so depending on your preferences and consensus among the group, we can play it any way you like. So by consensus, these dates are adopted.
Okay, great. Okay, good.
And so now we could open it up to closing comments and future agenda items before going to the good of the order. A lot has been discussed, and so I imagine there may be lingering questions with regard to what's been presented or previous meetings content. Anyone have something to say?
Jeff, did I hear you say that you attended the Senator Padilla Zoom conference the other day?
I did, yes.
I thought that there was a lot of really good information that was handed out in the, I think it was about a 90-minute presentation with a variety of speakers. Senator Padilla was kind of like the keynote speaker, and then he handed off to the acting administrator in the NTIA and some other people, including Sonny McPeak at the California Emerging Technology Fund. I believe a copy of that video is available, and you might want to distribute it to this group. So if people have an interest, they can at least go through. I would recommend that people at least go to the part where Sonny McPeak is talking. I thought she did a marvelous job of explaining, in her view, what the counties and the cities need to do. And she said something about creating a checklist that she was going to be sending out to all the organizations.
Jim, I believe that checklist was to be delivered to all of the counties.
Yeah, right. So I guess that was it, Mike. Anyway, I thought that it would be worthwhile if people have interest to spend a little time and view that video. Jeff, can you send that? Do you have that to send out to people? Can you get it?
I did. I just looked it up, the email from CETF. I will send it out to everyone. I was going to try to bring up it'll be sent out.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.